I'm Raj Kumar with Devex here in Brussels at the European Development Days, and we're joined by a very special guest. We have the Aid Minister from Denmark. Minister Christian Friis Bach is here with us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
This is a very important day, an important conference, and one of the key topics being discussed is sustainable agriculture, something I understand is very close to your heart personally. You're a farmer, among many other hats that you've worn. So I thought you might tell us a bit about where we are in the state of sustainable agriculture. We hear a lot about the terminology. What does it really mean, and where are we as a community on this?
Well, first and foremost, we need to tackle the enormous challenge we have in providing food security in the next 50 years, where we will have to almost double food production and having big strains on water, energy, resources going into agriculture, land as well. So we need to invest in agriculture. And the positive story here is that when you do it, it can achieve a lot. And you see it in Africa today. Those countries who really invest in agriculture, they have high growth, they have less poverty if they do it right, and they have more food, and they can tackle problems of climate change, water as well. But there we have a unique and important challenge together.
Let me just follow up on that when you said if they do it right. What have we seen? What are the models that work?
We take Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, you've seen high growth in agriculture, high growth in the country, and poverty dropping significantly. Because it's been also the poor farmers who have benefited. They've had better grains, they've had better seeds, they've had better fertilizer, better opportunities. And there you see an agricultural transformation that leads to less poverty. In other countries, Tanzania, for instance, high growth in agriculture, but less impacts on poverty, because it's perhaps been export crops, it's been richer farmers who have been benefiting. You haven't been able to really transform the rural poverty and benefit from agricultural transformation. So, you know, we need to make sure that we have high growth in agriculture, more investments, make it beneficial to be a farmer, and especially a woman farmer, as many African farmers are, and make sure that it translates into less poverty. And that's about policy, good agricultural policy. We need to engage much more in that, and we are developing now or promoting a new agricultural index that can put focus on where is it good to be a farmer in Africa, where is it good to be a woman farmer. That index can hopefully help us in transforming policy, and we are investing in value chains, making sure that we go all the way from the agricultural products to the final table and the world market.
Now, you're investing in policy, and I'm wondering, is it because we haven't yet reached consensus on this as a development community? Do you feel other donor nations, other development agencies are seeing eye to eye with Denmark now in terms of this vision of sustainable agriculture, focusing on supporting smallholder farmers, especially women?
We have for years neglected agriculture, and we have invested way too little in agriculture. Because it's difficult. You know, being a farmer is difficult. I can tell you by personal experience. You need a lot of different ingredients to come at the right moment. You need the seeds to be there, the right seeds. You need infrastructure. You need markets. You need weather. Everything, you know, has to come together to be a successful farmer. So it's very complex. It is easier to build schools. It is easier perhaps to construct a health clinic. Investing in farming is difficult. So we've shied away from it. And for years, we actually agricultural investments in agriculture were declining. We are now reversing this trend, and the international community has definitely come together in investing more in agricultural development in poor countries in Africa, and that's very much needed. African countries need to do their part. Many of them have had highly detrimental agricultural policies. They have taxed farmers, they have underinvested in research, they have underinvested in roads in rural areas, market development, regional development. All that's important to have a successful agricultural sector has been very much neglected. We need to turn that tide around, and sustainable agriculture is key to the success, especially in Africa.
Sure, and agriculture is becoming big business as well in Africa, and I think sounds like the message you're making here is, yes, it's big business, yes, it can be an economic driver, but we've got to remember the farmers and the people who actually need the food and the nutrition in these countries.
Exactly, and there are very different experiences, as I said. Those who really manage to do high agricultural growth, but make sure that you involve the small-scale farmers, and you also reach remote rural areas. There you see high growth and less poverty going hand in hand. And we know that agriculture can be a key driver of less poverty, but you need to do it right. And there, I think sharing experiences here at the European Development Days is important.
We're here at the European Development Days, and so I'm curious about where you think we are as a European Union heading toward an increased budget for foreign assistance. We heard a speech this morning by President Barroso talking about a €100 billion target over the next 7 years. I think 51 billion of that is targeted to the poorest countries. Are we going to get there? There's obviously a fiscal crisis going on here in Europe. There's a lot of calls for cutting that back. Where do you stand on that, and where do you predict we might actually end up?
We need to be more internationally engaged. If Europe now shies away from the world and do not invest in the world, it's going to be to the detriment of Europe as well. We know Africa will be the fastest growing continent now in the next years. Investing in Africa and reducing poverty in Africa is also creating jobs and opportunities in Europe. So we are behind a stronger international engagement. We put pressure on increasing our budget. And there are countries cutting back, and there is pressure on the budget in the European Union, but there are also countries increasing. The UK being one of it, Denmark being the other, and we have ganged up. We have made a club actually. I always bear this badge around. It's a club it's called G0.7. It's the club of the countries who provide more than 0.7% of their gross domestic income in development assistance. It's a very exclusive club actually, but there's so much hype about being a member of the G8 or the G20. So we want to create a little bit of hype about being a member of a G0.7. And as I said, it's exclusive. They're less than 8 or 20. And we hope more countries will join, and we hope the European Union will live up to its obligations as well. We promised all the way back in 2005 that we would reach 0.7%, and we cannot shy away from that promise. We have to stand firm and engage.
I think it's an important message. I mean, the European Union is such a large donor in the world that even a small percentage cut for the European aid budget could be very significant for the developing world.
It can. And as said, it's going to mean a lot for poor people, and it's going to make us more difficult to invest in less poverty and more security, peace and progress around in the world. And as said, investing in the world is good for the world, and I hope it will be good for the world's poor. It gets kids to school, it gets people into the clinics, it helps farmers to develop. So it's an investment in the world, but it for sure is also, I think, right now one of the most important investments in growth, opportunities, jobs in Europe. Remaining strongly internationally engaged, I think, is very much the solution to many of the challenges we have in Europe as well.
Yeah, it's a compelling message. It's a tough time to make that message, given all that's happening in Europe.
Yes.
But it seems like an important one, in particular at a time like this.
Sure.
So we thank you very much for joining us, Minister.
Thank you. It was a privilege.
Look forward to a successful European Development Days. Thank you for being with us.